So how did I start over in a new country and rebuild my life? Because that is something that a lot of persons are thinking about, moving. And when they hear about moving to a new country, it sounds exciting. It sounds very exciting when people talk about it. But what they don't really always talk about are like the sacrifices, the loneliness, the uncertainty, and the strength that it takes you to start over from scratch. So today I'm just going to share my journey and what I've learned so far along the way. So if you're one of those persons that is thinking about moving, or you've already moved, I'm just going to share with you that information. But why I decided to leave Jamaica, a lot of times persons ask the question, but when people are moving from one country to another, it's never about adventure. It's always about either opportunity, it's always about growth, or just wanting to create a better future for themselves and their family. And as a nurse in Jamaica, I wanted to expand my career opportunities because it was going to be a little bit difficult to get that in Jamaica. I wanted to challenge myself professionally and build a life that, is offering me more possibilities. But making that decision, it came with, a lot of sacrifice. It wasn't easy because leaving my home country, Jamaica, was me saying goodbye to familiar things, family gatherings, lifelong relationships, and the comfort of knowing exactly where I belong. When I got here, it was very exciting. I'm not gonna lie. When I got here to the state, it was very exciting because everything felt new. From the roads, it looked different. The stores were different. The healthcare system was different. Everything, including even simple things as ordering food and understanding the local expressions, or even navigating, trying to get onto, one of those taxis or bus, it felt unfamiliar. At first, there was excitement because everything was like a new adventure. You want to get up every day and just go and travel, to different stores or whatever it is. That was it. I was very optimistic and very motivated, and I believe I was ready to take on any single challenge that America, had for me. But then I realized that reality, it started to set in, and it wasn't like what I expected because the culture shock, it is real, and that is something that a lot of people don't really talk about. It's not just you learning the new customs of that country. It's you realizing that the things that you once considered to be normal, it's not normal anymore. It is completely different somewhere else in another country. Sometimes I felt like I was just constantly trying to figure things out. Sometimes the interactions, even though it might be very simple, and yes, you're using or you're accustomed to it, to interacting, but it's like you have to be thinking about what you need to say before you actually start interacting. You understand? The other thing is that I learned to appreciate the things that, I once took for granted a little bit more. So my food, simple mackerel, salt fish, my people, the humor, the feeling of belonging. Yes, appreciate it a little bit more when I move over here. Missing my family and home is another challenge that I realized that it was like probably the hardest part about transitioning or moving to the state here. There are moments that, people back home don't always see that I was missing. I was missing the birthdays. I was missing the holidays that I was now spending alone. The important family events now, you have to be watching them on your phone screen. If somebody did, you have to watch it on the phone screen or on the internet. The days I am struggling, and I would be stopping by a friend or, a family member's house for that support. It not the day any at all. Living in a new country teaches me that relationships matter more than we even think. Sometimes, success comes with sacrifices that nobody sees, and that is one of them. Having that community, that family with you. The financial and the career challenges are going to be there because sometimes, a lot of times, people just think that because you're moving to a new country, it means that you are successful. It's instant success. But the reality is very different because there's so much expenses, the paperwork, the license requirements, credentialing, evaluation, job search, exam preparation, learning the new system, and sometimes even, when you have professional experience, it's like you're starting from scratch. You feel like you're starting from zero again. You're starting from the bottom up. You understand? So there were moments, a lot of times when I questioned whether or not the sacrifice was worth it. But yes, it's worth it because I have to keep on reminding myself that I am one step closer to my dreams. I'm one step closer to my goal. So eventually, it will be fully worth it. And right now, it's still worth it. When it comes on to building support system, you have to start that from very, very early. It's not something when you transition to a new country, you can do life alone completely. No, it's not going to work. When you move to a new country, you have to start building a community, and you have to be very intentional about it. It means that you're going to have to join some international groups, or, find some international nurses, join a professional organization, start networking, finding mentors, and connecting with your families and your friends back home. Over time, those strangers are going to be your friends, and your friends are going to become your family. And slowly you realize that you have a new support system here that you're forming. So it's very, very important to start connecting from early. This process will teach you about resilience, because moving from one country to another teaches you about resilience in so many ways that you never expected, because you're learning to solve problems on your own. You're learning to adapt on your own. You're learning to keep going even when you feel like you don't want to, or the days are just, hard, it's overwhelming, or days don't go according to plan. You discover strengths that you never really did have from before. You understand? There are situations that are out there that a lot of times are just very, very overwhelming. I'm feeling exhausted, but I still have to show up for the people that work. I still have to show up for myself. But every challenge, it taught me something very valuable, because when I look back at where I'm coming from and the things that I'm doing now, or how I've grown so far, it wasn't easy, but it's because of the difficulties or the challenges that I experienced before. Starting over, it actually changed me completely, because that's how I started my YouTube page here. It made me a little bit more confident. It helped with me being more independent, more adaptable. I am more grateful for the things of life. You understand? The opportunities. I learned that growth happens even when it's like uncomfortable. I learned that fear doesn't mean that you have to stop. You understand? Some things you just have to try and figure out on your own. Most importantly, what I learned is that home is more than just a place. Home is the people that you love, the values that you carry, and the life you're building. That is what home is all about. So my advice for anybody that is starting out right now, just remember, give yourself some grace, be patient, expect that there's going to be challenges. Don't compare your journey with anyone else. All right, build relationship from early. Stay connected with your friends and your family. Not because they're in Jamaica or in another country doesn't mean that you have to done with them down there. You have to done with the country. Stay connected. Celebrate your small wins, because remember, you're starting from scratch. Trust the process even when the progress seems very slow. All right, you might be delayed, but you're not denied to anything. And starting over is never easy, because I experience it, and I'm sharing my story with you about how hard and difficult it might be. All right, so sometimes you still have to make that difficult decision in order to get yourself closer to your dream or to your goal. And if it means that, you have to make a lot of sacrifices, you just have to do it. I don't know if you've ever had, I don't know how many persons have moved to a new country, or is planning on moving to a new country, or you're in a new phase of life. I want you to just go ahead and share your story in the comments. If you're an international nurse who is navigating healthcare, or life abroad, I want you to just go ahead and subscribe to the Think Nursing, channel, and be a part of the family where we share real conversation, nursing, growth, anything that will help, with building life a little bit better for you away from home. Go ahead and subscribe to my page. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.